You know that solid, liquid and gas are the three states of matter. At normal temperature, different substances exist in different states. Example, copper in solid state, whereas oxygen in gaseous state. The state of a substance depends upon the energy it contains. A change in the energy happens when the substance is heated or cooled. This leads to change of its state. If a solid substance is heated, it changes into a liquid. Example, ice turns into water when it is heated. Let us try this simple experiment to study the change of state. Take a candle, light it, and observe the changes of state that take place. We can observe that when a candle is lit, it gets heated up and the solid wax turns into liquid and the liquid flows down. It gets cooled as it comes away from the flame and again solidifies. Let us study the changes of state of matter that take place during various processes. During vaporization, a liquid changes into a gas. During freezing, a liquid changes into a solid. During condensation, a gas changes into a liquid. Students, you have seen ice melting and water boiling. But do you all know at what temperature melting or boiling takes place? Let us try to understand this. Every substance has a specific melting point and boiling point. But the question is, what is meant by melting point and boiling point? The temperature at which the state of a substance changes from solid to liquid is called the melting point of the substance. Example, melting point of ice is 0 degrees Celsius, while that of iron is 1535 degrees Celsius. The temperature at which a liquid boils is called the boiling point of the substance. Example, boiling point of water is 100 degrees Celsius, while that of iron is 2750 degrees Celsius. Evaporation. You must have observed that after a shower of rain, the water on a road evaporates. This phenomenon is called evaporation. During evaporation too, a liquid changes into a gas. However, evaporation may take place at any temperature and only takes place on the surface of a liquid, unlike boiling. Wind and higher temperature speed up the process of evaporation. Example, water in pond dries up at a faster rate during summer because of higher temperature. Now we shall learn a new concept, that is, distillation. Distillation is the process in which a liquid is first heated up to its boiling point and then its vapor is cooled to obtain the liquid again. Let us try this experiment to understand the concept of distillation in a proper way. Take a solution of some common salt, that is, sodium chloride in water, in a round-bottomed flask. Set up the apparatus as shown. Fit the flask with a 2-holed rubber stopper. Fit a thermometer in one hole. Fit a bent glass tube in the other hole. Connect the outer end of the bent tube to a condenser by means of a rubber tube. Fit another piece of rubber tube to the lower end of the condenser and put its end into a beaker. Let us understand what a condenser is. A condenser consists of a glass tube placed inside another glass tube of a bigger diameter. The wide outer tube has an inlet and an outlet. The cold water circulates around the inner tube with the help of this inlet and outlet. Now, let us see the working of this experiment. Place the flask on iron gauze on a tripod and start heating it. Observe the beaker. We can observe that a liquid is getting collected in the beaker drop by drop. What is this liquid? The water in the flask changes to steam at 100 degrees Celsius. This steam passes through the condenser. Here it is cooled by the water around it and it becomes liquid once again. Thus, the liquid getting collected in the beaker is the water from the salt solution in the flask. When all the water in the flask gets evaporated, we get pure distilled water in the beaker and the salt from the solution is left behind in the flask. Fractional distillation. The only difference between distillation and fractional distillation is that in the case of fractional distillation, there is a fractionating column between the distillation flask and the condenser. Fractional distillation is used for separating several substances dissolved in a liquid. The crude oil is obtained from oil wells. Crude oil contains various substances like petrol, naphtha, kerosene, diesel, etc. These components are separated by fractional distillation. Of these components, petrol is the most inflammable and has the lowest boiling point, followed by naphtha, kerosene and diesel respectively. When crude oil is heated, petrol evaporates first. It is condensed and collected separately. Each of the other substances is separated at the proper temperature. Thus, the difference in the boiling points of the various components is the main factor leading to the separation of various components of crude oil. This makes fractional distillation possible.